Hey there, Photo Universe. Have to stand today because the Photo Universe table that I normally sit at has been packed up on its way to a bridal show tomorrow to set up for the bridal show. I actually think better standing anyway, so be that as it may. A couple of issues, been saying some stuff on some forums and people have been freaking out, and as usual. So the first thing that I want to say is, like, with this new Pentax full frame coming up, I'm not so sure everybody's going to be so thrilled with it. I think the problem's going to be where this is going to be the first time Ricoh's had the design, complete control over the design. The K32 even is still like left over. That's them taking Pentax, Hoya, etc. and tweaking it. This full frame, I think, is we're going to see more of what Ricoh thinks a camera should be and less of what Pentax thought a camera should be. And that could be a good or a bad thing, right? I mean, everybody's so, not everybody, but a lot of these forum warriors are really like, they're so defensive and they're so uptight and they really need to get lives. It's just weird. There's a lot of dorks out there, and you know who you are. And it's like, you know, you don't contribute to the conversation. You just like start putting people down for the fun of it, and anonymously. And that's pathetic. I mean, that's like, you know, you can't even have a decent conversation with these people. I guess they just want everybody to all agree. Okay, the Pentax full frame is the greatest camera ever, even if it sucks. And we all agree, aren't we happy? That's so awesome. It doesn't make any sense. Do we know if the Pentax, the new Pentax full frame that's coming out, do we know if it's the greatest camera ever, or do we know it's the biggest turd ever? We don't know. We don't know. There are some signs that we can look at and maybe postulate some ideas as to what's coming. The two things that have me kind of scratching my head a little bit going, okay, I'm going to have to look at this and see what it is, are that articulated LCD screen in the back with the big struts and everything sticking out. I mean, that looks like an mechanical engineering nightmare. It might be the coolest thing ever. It looks pretty, just from looking at the pictures. I've never seen one, I've never played with it, but just looking at it, it looks like a pretty complicated way around the barn. To accomplish what? I don't know. I mean, years ago, the Japanese have a saying, very, very high tech. Well, not years ago, they still have the saying today. Very, very high tech, but so what? We'll see. Jury's out. I'm not saying it's horrible. I'm not saying it's great. What I am saying is I'm not sure about it. I need to see that, okay? If it was a flush-mounted screen attached to the camera like the K3, then, you know, some people would complain, it's not a movable screen. I can't. Okay, yeah, I get that, but it's not. If the Pentax Ricoh's showing some really weird articulated screen thing that nobody's seen before. Could be the greatest thing since sliced bread. Could be power zoom, right? I got the poster from the old PZ1. Power zoom was going to it was going to be the Hail Mary pass that brought Pentax back and put them on the map with all the pro photographers in the world. The PZ1 was the new flagship, and it was power zoom, PZ1. And that was going to be the new thing that was going to set the world on fire. And we see how well that worked out. Good thing they did it, because now they have the power contacts for the SDM lenses to power the autofocus. Okay, the second thing I'm a little trepidatious about, I have some trepidations about, I'm a little cautious and worried about, is it seems that, so Sony cameras have a modal interface. They have modal dials. In other words, they're unmarked dials that when you're in a certain setting, those dials do certain functions. I think it's generally well assumed and well established that Sony's interface is one of the worst out there, okay? Most people who even use Sony's and love Sony's complain that, yeah, the interface sucks. That's the way it is, okay? And a lot of that's the modal dial interface. Seems like the new Pentax full frame is going to have a modal dial on it. There's two big dials on the right-hand side. One has some really esoteric markings, like grid stands out to me. In 30 years of professional photography, I don't ever remember needing to have direct access to any function called grid. It could be the coolest thing ever. I don't know what it is. I'm just saying that I've never needed it before. And so evidently, I guess the way it's working is, and this is a total guess, you turn that dial to get you to the mode you want, and then there's another big black dial that then you turn that dial to go do stuff. And somebody commented that it's a Sony style interface. In my mind, that's not a good thing. You may agree with me, you may not, whatever. I mean, if I was going to borrow something from Sony, it wouldn't be their interface. The only thing we can hope for is that the Pentax engineers who are responsible for bringing us one of the best interfaces in the business with the K52, K5, K52S, and then to a lesser extent, whatever Rico didn't change in the K3, K32, hopefully they saw this Sony interface and they said, you know what, it's just a poor implementation and we can improve upon that and make it great. And maybe they did, and that's what I'm hoping for. But I would have to look at that pretty hard. The third thing I have to say about the Pentax full frame is I don't think anybody really needs it. I've come to the conclusion that full frame cameras are kind of the worst of both worlds. In that sense, I mean, there's APS-C, and if you have APS-C size lenses, brilliant, because you're actually getting most of the bang of a full frame in terms of image quality for half the size, weight, and cost. And the other side of the coin is medium format, which full frames are about as heavy, and the medium format is orders of magnitude better image quality than a full frame or an APS-C. And the full frame over APS-C is marginal increase in image quality to the point where anything you could use a full frame for, you could do with an APS-C. That's controversial, but it's the truth. Because there's a lot of people out there that are just, internet forum wankers who are like, megapixels and full frame and that's so much better, and it's not. It just isn't. Damien Lovegrove proves it. Okay? If somebody gets up on the internet and they say, here's work that couldn't be done with an APS-C, and it has totally made my work commercially viable because of it, I'm all ears. It ain't out there. Damien Lovegrove, lovegrovephotography.com proves it. Absolutely proves it. Check out his work. He is quoted on one of the vlog posts on YouTube. There's a podcast where he says, people worry about megapixels. 16 megapixels is all he needs. And people who are worried about megapixels seem to worry more about their kit than they do about making great photographs. And it shows. And I'm paraphrasing there, but yeah. And when you look at his work, you're like, most people's problems are not their format size or their number of pixels on their sensor. I mean, that's just not the issue. All these people who are screaming and yelling about, I need full frame, I need this, I need that. Hey, there's two things here. When you're saying you need it, that's what I'm questioning here. I'm not so sure that's true. I don't think anyone's really on a regular basis completely exceeding the capabilities of their K3 or K32. I just don't think that's happening. Okay? That's what I'm on about. If you say to me, I want a full frame because that's what I want, because I think it's cool, I get it. I completely support your desire for that. If that's what makes you happy, I'm not saying you should get it, and you should enjoy the hell out of it, okay? Because if that's what you want, because that's what you just want, because you want that, because you think it's cool, that's the second kind of cool. It's cool just because you think it's cool and you want it. That's a get out of jail free, that's a free pass. That's absolute, I fully support that. I think, I think in that sense, then the Pentax full frame is going to be awesome. Okay. But if you're telling me you need it because you can't accomplish the image quality requirements you need with an APS-C K3 or K3.2, then we disagree. Then I have to say I don't think you're right. Unless you can prove that to me, I don't think that's right. If you're saying to me you can't get the image quality and so you're going to get a Pentax 645Z or 645D, there's no contest there. There's no argument. Then okay, you need a medium format. That's an order of magnitude jump up in image quality. Okay, full frame is a single-digit percentage increase in image quality that may or may not be discernible to anyone. Okay, and so how relevant is that? For the penalty of, and again, Pentax may come out with the smallest full-frame body of the full-frame bodies that are out there from Canon and Nikon, etc., except for Sony, that's mirrorless. I'm talking about DSLRs. But there's no getting around the fact that a 16 to 50 SDM DA Star Pentax is half the size and weight, arguably, of the 24 to 70 Tamron Pentax that they just came out. Or the 50 to 135 is guaranteed half the size and weight of any 70 to 200 made, 2.8. Okay, and so you're not going to be able to escape the fact that your full frame lenses are going to be big and heavy and expensive. All right. So, I'm not here, this isn't going to be popular. This is a reality check in the sense that, I have a feeling there's going to be some disappointment when the Pentax full frame finally gets here. All right. What's the silver lining to this dark cloud for me? It's that you can get a brand new K3 for $600 US dollars. You can get a brand new K3.2 for like $750 right now. That's absurdly cheap. All right. The Pentax limited lenses are still, most of them, on Christmas sale pricing. The Pentax DA lenses, the APS-C Pentax lenses are still, most of the Pentax lenses are still on Christmas sale pricing. So for $2,000, you could get yourself approximately $2,000. You could get a K3.2 with a 16 to 50 and a 50 to 135, and you've got a pro kit. Okay, 2.8 zooms all the way. You're not going to. It costs you $2,000 for a 70 to 200 in a full frame. All right. I mean, right now for $2,000, you can get a 16 to 50, a 50 to 135, and a K3.2 body. Let's say the full frame body that Pentax is making comes out at $1,500. The 70 to 200 we already know is about $2,000, maybe $2,500. But let's just say $2,000. I'm being conservative here. Okay. You just spent $3,500, and the 24 to 70 is already $1,400 or $1,300. 45, you're up to almost $5,000. Did I do the math right? 2,000, 1,500, 3,500, 4,500. Yeah, $5,000. Okay, right now you can get a K3.2 APS-C body and 2 lenses, professional lenses, and you can get the equivalents. So that is $2,000, and you can get the equivalent full frame Pentax, and that's if the full frame comes out at $1,500. It might be $2,500, which would be $6,000. All right, so you see where I'm going with this. That's a lot of money. All right, I think just off the top of my head here, get a used 645D and a couple of 645 lenses. Use 645D and a couple of used 645 lenses if you want to see an image quality jump. I mean, the Pentax makes a medium format camera system. Nikon and Canon don't. So that kind of skews the whole deal. All right. I know I come across like I'm telling you what to do. I'm not. All right. I'm passionate about the gear. I'm passionate about what I'm doing. Don't confuse passion with arrogance. All right. If we sat down, we had a cup of coffee, and we were hanging out, you'll find out it's just me. That's my personality. All right. It's just who I am. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just throwing some ideas out there, making people think, but I do it in a passionate way, and I know it comes across kind of goofy. Anyway, that's Ed with Photo Universe, and these are some Pentax full frame thoughts. A lot of these thoughts have been predicated or precipitated because Fuji just came out with the X Pro 2. And the Fuji X Pro 2 is kind of fascinating. The whole design philosophy behind that, dang, you know, and then when that XT2 comes out later this summer, if some of that stuff carries over, that's some pretty cool stuff. That's kind of where I'd like things to go. I'm not sure Pentax full frame's going there. All right. You know, there's one other thing I wanted to mention. Thought's been coming to my head. Roger Cial over at Lens Rent. Sorry, Roger, if I mispronounced your name. Over at LensRentals.com did a thing where he does these lens durability and reliability statistical analysis, because at Lens Rentals they get a lot of broken lenses back. And he says that the less electronics and the less motors in your lenses, the more reliable the lenses are. And that's kind of an intuitive, he's got the statistics to back it up, but it's kind of an intuitive deal anyway. I know photojournalists back in the day who the Nikon AF original screw drive lenses, those things were bulletproof. Arguably, they may not be that sharp compared to the new G stuff. But that new G stuff, I'm not sure how reliable it is. I have no data whatsoever. I will tell you this, it feels big, clunky, and made in China. It doesn't give me a warm, fuzzy feeling. I know people love them, and they're really optically fantastic. But, man, they really feel crappy, okay? The Nikon, I've had a few of the Nikon G. It's one of the reasons I got out of Nikon, too. Just the G primes are just... Anyway, so thinking about it, these DA APS-C lenses, the DA limited APS-C lenses, if we really stop and think about this for a minute, it's kind of a miracle that they're still for sale. It's kind of a miracle that they're still being made. Maybe screw drive isn't such a bad thing. If you're looking for a really solid, reliable lens, that's probably not, you never hear of anybody ever having any trouble with the limited series primes. And I think that's because they're screw drive and there's not a lot of electronics in there, and they're brass and aluminum and glass, and they're simple. They're on sale too. You might, instead of like lusting after SDM and AFS and all this, if you compare and contrast the Nikon G series full frame plastic fantastic China-made lenses, again, put them up against the set of DA limited lenses, you know what? I'll skip the technology. I'll go for the solid bulletproof construction. That's just me at cheaper pricing. And maybe it's kind of cool that they still make those. So I just throw that thought out there. What's up with Photo Universe? Have a good one. I appreciate it.